welcome to another episode of Spring into STEM. Spring into STEM. Oh, I forgot. We're not springing into STEM anymore. It's SCFG Live. Welcome. I'm Hannah from Science Club for Girls, and Mr. Music is still teaching music. He'll be in shortly to join us, and we'll definitely play a jingle at the end, so don't you worry. Well, it's been a crazy time at Science Club for Girls. In fact, we've been away for 2 weeks preparing for our awesome science clubs. Go ahead and take a look at these super cool pictures of us distributing materials to over 300 people who are participating in our science clubs. We're so excited, and to learn more about how you can get involved, be sure to visit scienceclubforgirls.org. But let's get back to today's episode, because today we're talking about something super cool, and that's the brain. Before we do that, though, let's check in with our good friend, Dr. Marbles. Hey, Dr. Marbles. How are you?
What's going on, Hannah?
Nothing much. It's been so long. Tell us what you've been up to.
Oh, my gosh. I've been working a lot, but also getting a chance to hang out with my new puppy, Louie.
Oh, I was going to ask Dr. Marbles, how's his crate that we made in the engineering episode working out? Is he crying less at night?
Yep.
Good.
He's doing great, Hannah. He's doing great. You know what? We were able to actually move the crate down.
That's so nice. Well, it seems like he's making some big improvements for a little puppy.
Big progress. You know why?
Why?
He's using his brain.
That's right. Dogs have brains just like humans do. So I'm sure Louie would love to learn more about them in today's episode. Well, Dr. Marbles, we missed you last episode because last episode we talked about DNA. And that stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Isn't that a big word?
Oh my gosh. It is a big word and a super cool word. I love to say it. Deoxyribonucleic acid.
Exactly. It's pretty cool.
You know what, Hannah?
Yeah?
I'm kind of a computer geek. I love computers. And I think about DNA like the software of a computer. And it tells the computer, my body, exactly what to do and what the cells should do and how metabolism should work. And it carries the code to why I'm the way I am and why I look the way I do. And I have this beautiful blue nose.
It's quite beautiful. That's very true.
My mom has the same nose.
Well, that makes sense because oftentimes it's passed down in your DNA from your parents, which is really cool.
Super cool.
We also learned that DNA is located in the cell's nucleus. And we talked about the nucleus kind of being like the brain of the cell because it tells the cell what to do and how to function. And so we thought, what a perfect transition to talk about our own brain.
The brain!
Bodies, which is crazy. Are you ready to learn more?
Oh, definitely.
Cool. Well, our brains are a pretty big organ. In fact, they make up about 2% of our entire body weight, which is pretty heavy if you think about it. And the brains are part of something called the nervous system, which is made up of the brain, our 5 senses, our spinal cord, and all the nerves that connect all of those things. Dr. Marbles, do you remember what our 5 senses are?
Let me give it a try.
Okay.
Sight.
That's one.
Hearing.
That's another.
Taste.
That's the third. There's 2 more.
Feel.
Yeah. And there's 1 more. And I'll give you a clue. It kind of had to do with our cell episode with the pizza. You commented how good the pizza.
Oh, how good it smelled.
Exactly. Wow. That's right, Dr. Marbles. Our 5 senses are sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. And our brain is responsible for all of these 5. It's all part of the nervous system. So, ready to learn more?
Yep.
Cool. Well, let's focus in specifically on the brain. Now, our brain is located inside of our skull. And if you actually take a moment to tap on the top of your head, you might feel a little bit of knock, knock, knock. It kind of feels hard. Do you know what that is? That's protecting our brain. Dr. Marbles,
Can I guess? Yeah.
Yeah.
The cranium.
That's right. It's also
or the skull. Some people call it the skull.
Exactly. It's also known as the skull. And here's a pretty cool X-ray picture of what the human skull looks like. It's made up of bone and it's pretty hard, which is important because it needs to protect the brain. And it's also why we sometimes need to wear a helmet, because a helmet is kind of like a second skull. It provides extra protection to our brain, which we will soon learn is super important. Do you wear your helmet when you go bike riding, Dr. Marbles?
Absolutely.
Fantastic. I hope you do, and I hope everyone at home does as well. It's really, really important. Okay, now let's look more closely into our brain. Scientists often split the brain up into three main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. And today we're going to take a look at all three parts. And to do that, we're actually going to be able to build our own brains out of paper, which is kind of cool. So to do this, you'll need these really cool templates, which I will link in the chat so you can do this at home. And you'll notice,
Hannah,
yeah?
I'm going to go get some paper. I want to do this too. I'll be back in a sec.
That sounds good. Bye.
Be back.
All right. Well, you'll notice that there's two templates, and that's why it's really important, because there's actually two sides of the brain. And what's cool about that is that the right side of the brain, oh, these are upside down. The right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. So if the right side of your brain is injured, oftentimes that means you can't control the left side of your body, which is kind of cool. It's backwards, but good to remember. Now, the two sides of the brains, once you cut these out, you'll need to connect them with tape or glue. It's a pretty good idea to have someone help you with this because it can get a little bit tricky, but I've already done it ahead of time. Now, in our model, you can see that the two sides of the brain are being connected by tape or glue. In our actual brains, they're being connected by fibers called the corpus callosum. And these fibers help to basically send messages from one side of the brain to the other, kind of like little highways running across. Okay, well, our brain hat, which is kind of cool, represents the cerebrum of the brain. And the cerebrum is what controls voluntary movements. Those are things that we choose to do. So for example, I'm choosing to talk right now. I'm choosing to look at the camera. I'm choosing to move my hands. I chose to make this hat. These are all being controlled by the cerebrum. And as you can see, the cerebrum is broken down into even smaller parts that are each responsible for different functions. It's kind of like organelles in cells. Remember how organelles also broke down tasks to make it easier? It's the same thing with the brain. Let's take a look at our different parts of the cerebrum. Let's start off first with the frontal lobe. This is this big area in the front that's responsible for our personality and making decisions and being able to tell time. The frontal lobe is a really important part, and fun fact, it doesn't fully develop until you're 25 years old, which is why we sometimes make silly mistakes and decisions when we're younger. You can always blame it on your frontal lobe not being fully developed. All right, moving back is our motor cortex. The motor cortex is responsible for all of your movements, like moving my hands like this or drawing. It's an important part. Next is the sensory cortex, and this is responsible for all of our senses, right? For being able to feel, for being able to distinguish pain or temperature, sensory cortex. Moving back is the parietal lobe. This is an important part that allows us to determine our space, our place in space. So right now I can tell that I'm here and the camera's over there, and I know that I am three-dimensional. That's because of the parietal lobe. In the back is the occipital lobe. The occipital lobe is important for our sight. And again, remember, the opposite part of the brain controls the opposite eye. So our right occipital lobe controls the left eye, and the left occipital lobe controls the right eye. It's kind of cool. And then last but not least on the side is the temporal lobe. And this is the part that controls speech and smell and hearing, also our senses. So that is the cerebrum. The voluntary movements, the voluntary decisions are being controlled by that part of the brain. In the back, you'll also notice the cerebellum. This is the other important part of the brain. And the cerebellum is important for balance and muscle memory. Being able to write your name and just remember that's how you write your name without thinking about it, the cerebrum. Now, there's one more part of the brain that's not being shown here that's also really important. In fact, I think it might be the most important part of the brain, and that's the brainstem. Because the brainstem is responsible for our involuntary movements and actions, things that we don't have to think about to do. For example, breathing. I don't have to think to breathe. It just comes naturally. The beating of your heart. I don't have to be like, okay, heart, beat now, beat now. It just does it. So the brainstem is really important for controlling those involuntary actions. So again, we've got the cerebrum, we've got the cerebellum, and we've got the brainstem. All parts of the brain. Let's go back to Dr. Marbles and see if you learned anything new. Hey, Dr. Marbles!
Hey!
You have a brain hack too. Oh no, Dr. Marbles.
Hold on, let me get it. Wait a minute. What? There you go.
Crazy.
Hey, Hannah, I love this thing.
It's pretty nice. Maybe I'll wear it out to dinner tonight.
Yeah, I like to wear it a bit askew.
Oh, that's nice. Very fashionable.
It's like a beret.
Exactly. Very.
Yes, very French.
Very fashionable. I love it. Well, Dr. Marbles, did you learn anything new about the brain with our brain hat?
Well, a couple of things.
Okay.
Remember when I had, oh, hold on, it's falling. Well, it reminds me when I was eating that pizza on one of the last episodes, and I'll tell you something I may not have shared, but when I was eating it, it was super hot, and I burnt my mouth.
Oh,
and
no.
I was like, hot, 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 hot. I was using my sensory lobe.
Exactly.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Super cool. Yeah. And you know what else, Hannah? When you were saying that things on the one side, like on my left side, are controlling my right hand and my right side of my brain is controlling my left hand. Well, that's because when you are growing before you're born, that you are developing so that at some point in the development, things get kind of twisty-turny. And that's why the nerves that go from one side of the brain to your arm, that's a fun word. It's called decussate.
Oh, gosh. Decussate?
They cross. It's like a funny word. It's like a fancy word for cross. The nerves cross. Yep.
Very neat. Well, Dr. Marbles, we're going to talk a little bit more about how all the parts of our brain work together like a team to allow us to do certain things. So
teamwork.
Exactly. We'll bring you back shortly, okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay, goodbye. All right, so let's take an example. Let's say that a baseball is coming directly at your head. Well, your eyes need to tell your occipital lobe that something's coming, which then needs to tell your motor cortex that you need to move, which then needs to tell your cerebellum that you got to balance and you got to remember to do that thing. So all these parts of the brain work together. And so today we're going to be able to test this with something called reaction time. And for this experiment, I'm going to need a volunteer. Mr. Music! Oh, thank you. He's back. He's done teaching. He's back to more important things, which are the science show. There he is. We missed you, Mr. Music. Come on over and help me with this really cool experiment. All right, so we're going to test something called reaction time. And to do that, you need some really simple ingredients. All you need, well, it's not the ingredient, material, is a ruler. And that's it. All right, so what I need Mr. Music to do is come over on this side. Thank you, Mr. Music. And he is going to hold the ruler up above my hand like so. He is then going to drop it at any point, I don't know when, and I'm going to try and close my hand as fast as I can and see at which inch mark I catch it at. Obviously, the lower the number, the faster I was at catching the ruler. Now, I'm curious. Let's make a prediction. Do you think I'm going to catch the ruler at a lower inch mark or a middle inch mark or a higher inch mark? How fast do you think my reaction time is going to be? Let's go to Dr. Marbles for a section we love to call, is he ready?
Prediction checker! Prediction checker!
Yay! Hey, Dr. Marbles.
Yep.
All right, so I want you to make a prediction. How fast do you think my reaction time is going to be? At which point on the ruler do you think I'm going to catch my ruler? Do you think it's going to be closer to the 1 inch mark, or do you think it's going to be all the way up at the 12th inch mark?
Can you show me that a little closer? I'm going to say more like 3 or 4 inches. I think it's going to be somewhere in between. Something in between.
That's pretty fast. Let's test it out.
Yep.
All right. Ready? Ah! That wasn't very fast. That was at 7 inches. Now, it's always good to write down your data. So I've made a quick little data chart. And for trial 1, I'm going to write down 7 inches. All right. Let's try it again. Oh, no! I got 9 inches this time. Oh, not too good. Let's try it one more time. Oh, that was better. 5 inches. Now, if I kept doing this over and over and over and over again, do you think my reaction time would get faster or slower? I don't know. Let's make another prediction. Dr. Marbles, are you there for prediction chicken?
Yes! Prediction chicken!
Woo! All right, Dr. Marbles.
I was trying to fix my brain cap.
Oh, that's okay. So, Dr. Marbles, here's my data so far for my reaction time. I got 7, then I got 9, but then I got 5. I'm curious, if I kept doing this over and over and over again, do you think my reaction time would get faster or slower?
I think it would get faster.
Why do you think that?
Because one of the most wonderful things about the brain is it learns.
That's true.
Yeah. So each time you do something, it remembers, and it is getting better and better at that task.
Exactly. It's kind of creating like new pathways between the parts of the brain and the neurons that then make it faster, right? The more we practice, the more our muscles remember and our brains kind of remember what to do. It's like muscle memory. Cool. Very cool. That's why.
Hannah, when you asked me that question, it was almost like you knew you had that picture to show.
Yeah, kind of. I had it planned. I know. But this all brings us back to whenever someone says practice, 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 it's true. Practice does make a difference, right? Creating those neural pathways, creating that muscle memory, it does make a difference. Always practice. Well,
I practice the piano.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Dr. Marbles, there's so much we can learn. We're not done, Mr. Music. There's so much we can learn about the brain, and there's no better person to learn it from than an expert. So we're actually going to have a chance to talk to or hear an interview with Kaylin Brown. Kaylin is actually a Science Club for Girls mentor, and she's been with Science Club for Girls since she was in 1st grade, which is crazy. Now she's studying neuroscience, which is the study of the brain. You ready to hear about her experience, Dr. Marbles?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, Kaylin. Could you please start by introducing yourself and your involvement with Science Club?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Kaylin. I'm a senior in college, and I started in Science Club when I was in 1st grade, and I went all the way up through middle school, up until high school, and then I became a JM in high school, and now in college I am a mentor at the Lingo School.
Awesome. Can you please tell us a little bit about what your typical day is like as a neuroscience student?
Oh, yes, of course. As you said, I study neuroscience. Right now it's looking a lot different than what it usually does when I'm on campus. I work in a lab, so it's really cool. I get to go inside to my lab when it was open in person, and I got to take pictures of people's brains basically and have them do different tasks and see which parts of the brain were active when the people were doing different things, or if different people who do different things in their everyday life have different patterns of brain activity. So I thought that that was really, really cool. And even now, I'm still looking at pictures on the brain, but I can't like see anyone in my lab, unfortunately.
That sounds like really cool research. How did you get into the brain? Like, what made you interested in it?
Actually, I first learned about neuroscience from Science Club, and I think I would have to say I was around 10 or 11. I think I was in 5th or 6th grade, and we had a field trip to, I forget where it is. I think it was probably like a pharmaceutical company. But we had a bunch of speakers come in and talk to us about different things, different women in science, women in STEM, telling us they did little presentations about what they do in their labs. And a neuroscientist came, and I remember I didn't understand anything that she was saying really, but I thought it was really cool because she started talking about how our brain is like a computer. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever, and I really wanted to do neuroscience. And so I looked up a bunch of terms when I got home. I talked to my mom about it, and yeah, from there, the rest is history. Yeah, that's how I decided on neuroscience.
That's cool. And why do you think it's important to study the brain?
I think it's important to study the brain because without your brain, we wouldn't do anything. Our brain really, really is responsible for how we behave in every sense of the word and how we perceive those around us, how we interact with the world around us. And I think that understanding more about the brain, because we don't really know that much, is really, really important. And it's a really, really cool part of science.
Do you have a favorite part of the brain?
A favorite part? No, I wouldn't say like favorite part. I think, I don't know, out of the lobes, I guess, the parietal lobe is pretty cool. Like, it encodes all of your sensory information. So, like, if you, are touching something, that's the part of the brain that would, process that. So, that's kind of, I guess I would say, my if I had to choose one.
Had to ask. So what advice do you have for everyone watching the show today?
Yeah, I guess I would say, I think, it's really great to see everyone super excited about science, and I have always been super excited about science. If I could give advice to young scientists, young women scientists, I think a really good thing is if you're interested in something, ask a lot of questions, and also don't be afraid to ask questions to scientists who are doing things that you want to do or things that you think are cool. A lot of times it can be kind of scary to go up or to email or to try and set up a meeting with someone who is older than you and probably is more advanced in school, or not even in school than you are. So it can be hard for people to sometimes just ask. But I've found that people really, really love talking about research, and oftentimes people really, really, really love to help and empower people and teach people what they need to know so they can be like the next generation of cool scientists. So if you find someone that does something that you want to do, don't be afraid to, reach out, send an email, and ask them more about their research. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Kaylin, and good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
That was awesome, wasn't it?
So cool.
Very
oh my
cool.
gosh. Kaylin is such a cool woman.
It's awesome. And I love that she learned about neuroscience
I
in the
know.
Science Club for Girls and just kind of pursued her passion
Wow,
from
talk
there.
about an amazing, powerful organization. That really, did you know that?
That she was part of Science Club?
Yeah.
Of course I did. She's an awesome mentor at one of our schools.
Oh my gosh. That was incredible.
Very cool.
Well, to start with Science Club for Girls and then end up becoming like super smart, and then like she's going to be a leader in this field.
Right. And I love the fact that she learned from people in Science Club and is now teaching the young scientists in her own club, which is fantastic.
I know, Hannah. And you know what else I think is really kind of cool and kind of funny and weird?
Yeah.
Is that she is super smart. She has a super smart brain that is learning about the brain.
Right. It's very true. It's very true. And that's why when people say you can always learn new things, it's true, right? You can always create those new neural pathways. And there's so much that you can do with the brain, which is awesome. So
I know. And it's really, she said that her favorite part, well, it turns out it's my favorite part, the parietal lobe.
I didn't know that was your favorite part, Dr. Marbles.
Go parietal. I love it.
Woo!
Favorite. It's my favorite part. The
Very
left parietal lobe.
I love it. You're on team left parietal. I love
it.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Well,
But
Dr. Marbles.
Yeah.
Do you have more to say?
I do, if you don't mind. If you don't mind.
Go for it.
I was just going to say that I really love this episode because the brain really is our window into the world. And it's the way we hear and see and feel and express emotion. And it's kind of the way that we can love each other is through the brain.
That's right.
So I can't think of something more important to talk about and to study. So thanks for letting me be a part. And it's really great to see you.
Of course. It's great to have you back. And I hope you can come next week because next week we're actually going to focus on smell.
Oh, I take it back. That's my favorite episode.
I knew it would be. Well, Dr. Marbles, it was great to have you on the show. This has been another fantastic episode of SCFG Live, Science Club for Girls Live. Thank you so much. We also wanted to give an extra special thank you shout out to our script writers, media editors, experiment identifiers, and interviewer Tanya Miller, as well as help with our experiments. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, scientists.